Ladies and gentlemen, and this is why elephants don't think you're cute by Casual Geographics. How many of these facts did you believe? Okay. Yeah, another Casual Geographic video. Yeah, yeah, elephants don't think you're cute. I mean, kind of makes sense, right? Elephants are one of the smartest animal on the planet, right? With the big ass brain. Of course, they're not gonna have that kind of that kind of outlook. Like, oh, look at that, everything's pretty, everything's cute. And no, they're like, man, fuck you, you littering punks. You wanna sit on top of me? I'll throw you overboard. I remember that image. I don't know. I think I watched that video on Tears a lot. There's a clip, right? Where a horde of elephants are running. That suddenly some stops and just looks at certain animals and like, whoa, you want to go through here? What? So that's what it's for.
Oh my gosh.
お前はもう死んでいる。何?
The average person lies about 1 to 2 times a day, 1.65 to be exact. The average person can also expect to be lied to anywhere from 10 to 200 times in the same amount of time. And if you have internet, which you obviously do, because how else would you be here? Most of those lies probably come from behind a screen. And these days, it really doesn't matter what you say. As long as you say it with confidence, a small group of people will believe you. Like if I say that coconuts can technically be classified as mammals because they have hair and produce milk, and say it with my whole chest.
It's like how, I think it was Neil Tyson who says that, right? Like there are 3 types of truth. One is objective truth, which is just truth. Whether you believe it or not doesn't matter. It's verified by scientific methods. Other truth is political truth, that, because of the sphere of politics and basically your views, some things that, circulated a lot and repeated a lot, that it becomes somewhat of a truth. That's what he's basically saying, right? Like you can, change the definition of truth in this way. Like usually when people think of truth, it's just like what I say, objective truth, right? Like this is truth regardless of what. You can either be right or wrong, and what is truth is truth. But because of the internet age, like how many misinformation is out there, and because of the misinformation, how many people believe it and it becomes a thing. I guess political truth become kind of a truth in a way, where people just believe it whether it's real or not, right? And enough people believe it, it becomes a truth to them. So I guess, yeah, we are living in a pretty weird time.
At least one person's gonna pause this video and think about it. And it seems like every week I get tagged in a video of some guy saying the T-Rex was actually a dragon with wings, or Megalodon is still somehow alive, when the truth is, T-Rex didn't have wings, a 60-foot shark isn't hiding from the world in the bottom of the ocean, and there are no hot singles in your area just dying to meet you. The worst lies are the ones you tell yourself. There's a lot of alternative facts out there, so I'm gonna talk about the most common and the most entertaining ones that I get asked about. Some of these might be obviously made up, others I may or may not have believed at one point. Either way, someone's feelings are definitely going to get hurt with this first one.
God, the level of effect that Trump had. I don't know what I'm saying had. He could come back, right? He still didn't serve 2 terms. He just did 1. So he could be elected again. But seriously, the alternative fact thing. People don't realize, but these are certain terms that become so popular and so, I guess, into the society now. Even 20 years after that, people are going to use these words. Then people have to think about where this originated. It originated with Trump, right? Alternative facts. Like, what the fuck?
So it's a known fact that elephants find us cute. And we know this because the parts of an elephant's brain that are engaged when one sees a human are the exact same as when a human sees a puppy. Meaning elephants see us the way we see puppies. Except it's not true, and for 3 good reasons. Number 1, there ain't an MRI big enough. Not to mention the elephant would have to be awake and fully conscious just for us to be able to prove it. Meaning everyone in that entire room would be 1 5-ton temper tantrum away from getting crossed off the census. Number 2, elephants have every reason to find us the opposite of cute. It's bad enough they're forced to share an area code with some of the most dangerous things alive. But add the fact that humans put an estimated 55 elephants on a shirt, not every week, but every 24 hours. Elephants finding us cute would be like if people found Ted Bundy cute. And that would just be ridiculous. Someone feels called out and they should be. And number 3, and when I tried to figure out where this fact even started, it turns out it came from a Twitter post back in 2017. And it also turned out that she got that fact from Tumblr, and disclaimer, it's not going to be the only fact we get from there. Long story short, if elephants actually found us cute, the global census would be at least 500 names heavier. But there's nothing cute about this next video. So, you probably have some thoughts. The thing is, that exact clip will go viral once every couple of months. And one of the top comments is always the same. It's some guy saying camels spit their stomachs out their mouths to cool off and 1,000 people having a panic attack over it. The truth is, any camel with its stomach ejected from its body isn't a camel. It was. You're looking at one less sand donkey in the world. What it actually is an organ called a doula. It's an inflatable extension of the upper palate that the male will flex to get a female's attention. because that's really what it's all about. And as camels go deeper into rut, they'll even start foaming at their mouth to really show the world what type of time they're on. That and the flesh balloon dangling from its mouth is basically a Batman symbol for camels that want to prove that hump isn't just something on its back. It can be a verb and it can also be a desire. Also, I know what you're thinking. I know. You might have even commented it already, so I'm just gonna say it. No, you can't pop it, and yeah, you should be on a list for even asking. But SparkNote's version, that's not a camel showing you its stomach, that's a camel that wants to get into yours. And it's not even the first time something like this is.
Pop it, what the fuck? Who thought that, man? That's just... Yeah, I think he talked about that fact in the past in other videos. Obviously, there's gonna be more clips than elephants. I think, stopped watching geographic for a long enough time. I mean, obviously I did like yesterday or day before that, but enough time has passed that I forgot that he doesn't just do one thing, right? There's many clips, and title is usually just the first clip. I thought this was going to be a whole elephant video, but no. So yeah, elephants, first of all, elephant thing. Elephant don't think you're cute. I mean, obviously they are big mammal, right? I mean, one thing in nature is, whether it's human or any other animal, one thing is damn sure that whenever an animal is big, somewhat ego comes with it, right? Like, I'm big, I'm just, those puny humans, there's type of element always comes with it. And obviously the brain is bigger, they're smarter, so they're going to be fed up with us eventually. I mean, especially how we treat everything, right? Putting elephants in zoo, riding them, parading them around for some kind of a ceremony. Yeah, so there's going to be pissed off elephants here and there. We see videos about that, elephant going crazy. So yeah, and the camel fact, with stomach, really, stomach from all the inside, it can take it out, which means it took out half of body's organs, stretched it outside. Because stomach cannot be detachable like that. If it's detachable, then it just bring all the way front. I don't even know how that works, biology. If it's not detachable, which means it just pulled everything from the middle of it all the way to mouth. I mean, that flexibility is going to be a problem. So of course it's not, yeah.
And that's because pelicans exist. Specifically, this picture exists, along with the thousands of people who genuinely believe pelicans will spit their spines out in a way to cool off in the heat. It started as a meme that people will now defend to the death like a religion. What they're actually doing is a lot less dramatic. The truth is, this pelican is just yawning. When pelicans yawn, the tissue on their bottom mandible gets stretched out over their neck under it. All it is just a pouch being flipped inside out, not a pelican evicting its own skeleton to cool off. What this flying trash disposal actually does to cool off is gular fluttering. It's pretty much the bird version of panting. It works by exchanging the hot air from the throat and lungs with the cooler air from outside. Birds like pelicans can avoid overheating, without also having to negotiate half their spine. Cause trust and believe me when I say this, pelicans are demonic enough on their own. Another common bird fact is that turkeys are—
Yeah, somebody goes to pelican, oh look at that, you're putting out your spine from inside, and the pelican's like, no man, what the fuck is wrong with you? You think I'm gonna displace my spine all the way out? There's a reason why there's a saying called you don't have spine. Spine is what makes you stable. That's a pretty important part. It just takes it out, come on.
are so IQ deficient that they'll look up during a rainstorm and drown themselves. And then somebody will tell you it's true because their neighbor's dog's grandmother knew someone whose turkeys became a hashtag that way. First of all, turkeys aren't that stupid. Domestic turkeys? Yeah, you got me there. But go ask a hunter how dumb wild turkeys are and how easy they are to catch. You'll either get a 40-minute backstory or a few curse words under their breath. Turkeys that manage to survive in the wild are way smarter than they get credit for. As for the drowning in the rain thing, some turkeys get this condition known as tetanic torticollis spasms, or TT for short. And the SparkNotes version is that this neurological fumble can cause turkeys to cock their heads back facing the sky and be stuck there for up to a minute and sometimes longer. So no, the turkey isn't dumb enough to waterboard themselves in a storm. It's just some people that are gullible enough to believe it. And it's probably the same people that believe this. Apparently, otters will show their babies to predators in order to make them feel compassion. Now, I'm not going to judge anyone who believes this, but I'm going to put it real blunt. There are a lot of threats to a sea otter's way of life. Two of them include the headliner for Jaws and a freed Willy, and trying to get sympathy from the same Oreo that regularly—
Yeah, only humans would think that any wild predator would be like melty eyes because otter shows them their baby. You think predator's gonna give a shit about that? Come on, man.
Send seals into orbit and stingrays to the shadow realm is basically ringing death's doorbell. Now you might argue it wasn't a sea otter in the picture, it's a river otter. Fair enough. Imagine an otter trying to guilt trip a prehistoric snare trap with its child. The outcome would be 2 less otters and 1 well-fed gator. Facts like this only go viral when people take human traits and try to put them onto animals.
Seriously?
And this is coming from the guy who regularly refers to a killer whale as an oppressive cookie. Because in the wild, morality gets you 404 and put on someone else's 444. Which is why otters are much more likely to sacrifice their own child than use them as a sob story for a coyote. And speaking of babies, You probably heard as a kid how you should never touch a baby bird because then you'll get your scent on the chick and cause the mother to reject it. And that's not true for a very simple reason. Most birds have a poor sense of smell. The average bird wouldn't even be able to tell if you had touched your chick or not. Especially since birds don't identify their chicks by smell, they go by sight and sound. Now the reason you shouldn't touch one is because if mama bird suspects that her nest has been disturbed in any way, she'll abandon them altogether. Why risk your life raising a family when you can always make a new one? Also, the baby bird might not even need your help, because oftentimes it's a fledgling that people are trying to save. Not knowing that fledglings are perfectly fine on the ground or are probably being supervised by parents nearby. But if those parents did because they see you manhandling their child, then the only thing you helped that baby was become an orphan. Basically, you'd be rescuing that bird the same way the dentist rescued Nemo. Another fact that isn't really a fact is actually something I used to believe. Cheetahs got screwed in the genetic lottery and screwed hard. And one of the reasons people think that is because they can only sprint for 20 seconds at a time before their brains start to overheat and eventually shut down. Cheetahs are a genetic fumble and nothing will change my mind about that. But cheetah hunts don't end fast due to overheating. They end for the same reason.
Because of Tier Zoo and Casual Geographic, every time I think about any big cat and cheetah comes, I just feel sad. I don't know, it's just immediate response like, oh, fuck me, cheetah. Because I've seen enough videos on cheetahs with Tier Zoo and Casual Geographic to know that how fucked they are basically. I mean, certain animals that you wouldn't even fuck with any other big cat would just snatch his food from cheetahs, and cheetahs can't even do shit about it. Right? Only trait they have is to run fast for a small period of time. Everything else is just fucked. Like how Tier Zoo says, that's all the stats are put in the mobility, that's it. That's just sad, man.
You can't sprint as far as you can jog. Sprinting fast enough to catch a ticket on the freeway costs so much energy that even when cheetahs make the kill, they have to rest before actually claiming their prize. And the ironic thing is, in experiments where cheetah body temperatures were taken, they were slightly higher after a successful hunt compared to when they went home hungry. But it probably didn't have to do with the actual running. It probably had everything to do with the stress of knowing they're just one rogue leopard or a clan of hyenas or even a disrespectful vulture away from having sleep for dinner. Yeah, that wasn't a joke, by the way. Researchers now believe that cheetahs get anxious at kills for the simple fact that they can get their pockets picked at any time. That nervousness can cause the temperature to rise. But cheetahs don't actually overheat like an old school Dell monitor. They get more heated over the mental stress of keeping their lunch than the physical stress of actually catching it. And the myth started from an experiment where Harvard scientists took cheetahs from captivity, put them on a treadmill, and then plugged up their south side with a thermometer. And before you say anything, we've done some weird things in the name of science, and that wouldn't even crack the top 10. But all it did was convince the world that cheetahs factory reset themselves if they run too long. Don't get me wrong, they're still low tier, but they're not that bad. Another thing people swear is fact is this one right here, and I'll admit it, knowing what I know about these tuxedo turkeys, I normally wouldn't put it past them. But two things: one, this gif is fake.
Yeah,
but two, penguins
obviously.
don't actually eat each other to test if the water's safe.
The way it moves like a hand, right, while standing straight without moving, that's not how any animal works, right? Hell, that's not how humans work. Only way human would do that is human knows that there's a camera on that and I have to make it funny clip. To stay straight and just do this.
I'm not doubting that they're big enough cloacas to try. It's the same bird that'll do the mannequin challenge while its firstborn becomes a flatline. But what actually happens is penguins like adelies will often gather by the water's edge. And it'll usually take one or two jumping in first before the rest follow suit. Now obviously if a murder seal makes a guest appearance, the other penguins probably won't be so quick to join. But penguins don't actively sacrifice each other just to clear the water. The same way sloths aren't as brain dead as some people like to think. You've probably heard this one. Sloths are so stupid that they regularly mistake their own arms for tree branches, only to fall and become a statistic. Except not only is it not true, the myth itself came from The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams, and that fact was based on a one-time event Douglas experienced with a baby sloth. A sloth's claws actually works in the opposite way a human hand does, where having a tight grip is a default and opening up their claws actually takes effort. Plus, any animal that can't tell its arm from arbor isn't living long enough to be talked about. That would make even a koala look like an MIT candidate, but people took the sloth fact and ran with it. But it didn't get nearly as much mileage as this last myth did. Because literally every time you've heard the phrase alpha wolf, you were lied to. Because in the wild, the alpha wolf doesn't exist, since the wolf pack's made up of the two mating wolves followed by a couple generations of their children. Saying alpha wolf implies that the leading wolves got there by flexing on all the other wolves in the pack, when really the leading wolves are just the ones that boned. And unless your father got there by throwing hands with everyone under your roof, which I hope for your sake never happened, and unless you're some kind of weirdo, you wouldn't call your father the alpha. You call him dad. The biggest problem with the alpha wolf concept was that it was based on wolves in captivity. That'd be like if I got locked in max security, studied all the prisoners, and then wrote a book on human nature. Either way, it's a myth. So much so that the guy that helped popularize the term alpha wolf, David Meck, ended up doing a 180 and even tried to get his publisher to stop releasing his book on wolf ecology because of the myth. especially since
Damn.
one of the biologists he referenced, Rudolf Schenkel, based his studies on observing wolves in a German zoo. And in poorly constructed zoo habitats, wolves will behave with more self-preservation than wolves in the wild, since the wolf's natural strategy revolves around propping up the weaker, youngest members. Long story short, when you put a bunch of random, unrelated wolves behind a fence, they're gonna start acting different. Not unlike humans in max security. Because I think we can all agree whatever goes down in prison doesn't represent people in general. But in the wild, the big bad alpha...
Seriously, man, this whole video should be claimed like all the animal myths, basically. So this alternative fact things, also makes me think like throughout the years, right, for centuries, there's certain information that either was false at the start before someone realized that, this is false and corrected, but it was too late because it was out in the public, right? Or somebody just, spew out the false information without having any expertise to talk about that topic, and it just become way too famous and it's way old now. And we have this tendency to basically think that if the information is spread around a lot, like lots of people are talking about it, all the people cannot be wrong, without thinking that all the people could have been duped in a way, right? So our brain is just worked that way. So that's why many, like there's a one famous thing, right? Like the Lucy, this movie Lucy also uses it, like she's using 10% of the brain, 20%, 50%, 70%. It's like, no, you use all of your brain, right? There was one study done that said, like, we only know this certain percentage of the brain, what it does. Not that we only uses this percentage of the brain. Somebody just, misused the words and just said we only use this percentage of the brain, and it just became so popular that I don't think this myth is going anywhere. It doesn't matter how much people and scientists talk about, like, this is some bullshit. The original study didn't even say that, but it's not going to matter. It's just out, right? Out in the open. And this myth is not going to go anywhere because we like to think that, right? Like, we have potential, we can use more of our brain. So yeah, the whole myth thing, alternative facts thing is just ridiculous in our society.
Alpha wolf is about as real as the Easter Bunny. And no amount of tattoos, podcasts, or wildly inappropriate fanfics will ever change that. Don't think I'm not aware of how y'all know what rutting is. I'm onto you. But that's gonna do it for this video. For more consistent daily content, be sure to follow my Instagram and TikTok. Both are going to be in the description. And to watch videos before I post them and to support me beyond just subscribing, please consider also becoming a patron on Patreon. Also be sure to pre-order my new book if you haven't already. Got all my...
Oh, he has a book? Okay. Well, he did say in one of his videos that he has known about animal facts since he was a kid. It was one of his favorite things to do. Everything he bought was somewhat, animal related, some books here and there, and he was just obsessed with it. So it would be, it would make sense they would create a book because it definitely knows a lot about animals. But yeah. Well, that was why elephants don't think you're cute, or basically animal myths, basically alternative facts of animals, whatever. By channel Castle Geographic. If you like my reaction, don't forget to subscribe, and yeah, I'll see you next time.